was an expectation that I was gonna go into something in the sciences. So I had also sold myself that story that I wanted to be like a biochemist,
Okay.
and
But you
this
didn't
is what
want to be.
I didn't know. I didn't
Okay.
know. It was a thing that people seemed to be proud of every time that I mentioned it. So the reaction that I would get would be like of pride and excitement, where I would say I want to study biochemistry and then what I didn't do though in my matric year, which is something that I hope anybody who's listening can advise other people, or if they are in that position can start thinking about proactively, is that I did not apply for university immediately.
What?
I
So you didn't
didn't.
apply in grade 11?
I didn't apply in grade
How did you
11.
think it was going to work
I didn't
out?
apply in matric. Things have just always like worked out in some weird way, and I think without the right career guidance and right people around me to advise me and hold my hand in the process, which is what a lot of first generation university students find themselves in, you either find your way, or if you're lucky enough, you have a structure that introduces you to that. So I did not apply, and lo and behold, after matric results came out, now I'm in panic mode. And I'm like, actually, this is my first taste of reality, where I now have to do something myself. I have to put myself out there. And unfortunately, like there wasn't like place. I didn't get placed. It was actually during that year at UJ where there was a stampede because there were like late applications, etc. So around that time, I just, had a very tough talk with my mom, decided to step back, and she was understanding enough to say, it's fine, let's do a gap year.
Okay.
And in that gap year, I worked, earned extra money on the side, and that's how I was able to then apply. Initially applied for biochem because that was the story. And then just I would literally say out of nowhere, I changed my mind because I've always been good at communications, public speaking, and also just, writing and creative writing. And had never been introduced to communications and media and journalism before that. But I did a little bit of research, changed my mind, went to UJ almost the next day and requested to change my application. And I would say that was a very serendipitous moment, because that is where there was a shift in my trajectory and the path that I had to take. And since then, literally everything has built up to bring me to this point. So, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So the part where you didn't apply, I just want to sort of for it to be a learning moment for somebody at home, right? Is it because you didn't know you had to apply, or like what was the driving force? Did you just think it's
So
going to happen on its own?
I will say this, that I was very active in a number of things in matric, right? I was like a head girl. I did sports. I did cultural activities. And I think I got distracted in the process. And like I said, if you don't have the right guidance and support around you, which a lot of people from first generation going into university lack, then you don't have people edging you on, to say, why haven't you applied? What's going on there? So to be honest, there wasn't a thought process around how that would unfold. It's literally something that I had to learn as I went. And I think taking time out, which is very unconventional, allowed me to do that. It allowed me to rethink, reposition, and also venture into something that I'm serendipitously using today. So yeah. That's how I can just try and bring that thought process I was in at the time. Just lack of support, lack of guidance, and also knowledge, exactly, and just distractions, right? Being so distracted and caught up with everything that's happening around you and not really thinking and planning ahead. Yeah.
You know what? Also, what I'm learning from all of this is that it's important that you don't take things for granted, because being intelligent, I was actually telling somebody how these things are muscles, right? You know, how certain people think, oh, just because I'm smart, I don't need to prepare, or just because I'm intelligent, I don't need
100%.
to show up. But these things are muscles and they need you to exercise them, right? One. And number two, these things need nurturing. Because, I mean, in the world that we live in and what society sells us is the fact that because you're a head girl, because you're doing well, because you are active in all of these things, things are supposed to happen by
Yeah.
default, you
Yeah.
know? And basically what I'm saying to you, no matter how good you are, you must always take a step forward to want to know more, learn better, and also don't take it for granted and think things are going to happen to you. Rather be happening to things and not letting
100%.
things happen to you.
100%. I think for me, that was like a major life lesson that I learned very early on, right?
Yes.
Taking charge of your life and taking charge of the decisions that you want. I think I knew conceptually that this is the next progressive step, but
Sure.
aligning to what it is that you're saying now, that there may have been that underlying thing of, oh, things have always come naturally to me.
Sure.
And in the process, thinking that getting into university would be easy. And yeah, I just had a reality check. And yeah,
Yeah, I'm sure it must have been a rude awakening, ne?
it was. It was. It definitely was, because if you're obviously seeing your peers moving in a certain direction, and like I said, coming from the place that I was in, and you know, the things that I was doing in my matric year, there is that expectation,
Sure.
right? I remember just coming across a one of my peers, and you know, and I was working, and he was like, what are you doing, Mona? Like, what's going on?
Where were you working, if you don't
I
mind
was
me
in
asking?
I was in retail. I was
my
working for a
God.
boutique.
And that time
And that's
you
how
were a
I
style
gained my
player.
style. That's how I gained my style.
But
that
I guess you
boutique
benefited something.
exactly. That boutique taught me so much about people, about projecting, and like I said, because I've always been great at like communication, you know, it was an easy thing to be like, you know, top salesperson during that time, you know, speaking to customers, also, you know, being looked at as potential for like management in that space.
Sure.
But I knew that that space was too small for me.
Yes, you wanted to do
And
bigger
there's
things.
bigger things that I needed to do, and I knew that I was just passing by.
Sure.
There was another plan that I was waiting to unfold. And another thing that I do want to emphasize in just talking about this is that it is not the end of the world.
Yes, I was about, yeah.
That is what I want to emphasize to anybody who's listening. So if you make a decision that puts you in a very uncomfortable position that you didn't anticipate, it is not the end of the world,
Sure.
right? Like you will have opportunities. If you apply yourself, apply your mind, you will have things that, you know, you'll be able to draw into your sphere. And also, you know, yeah, it's just not the end of the world, really.
Sure.
Yeah.
I completely agree with what you're saying, because also from what you've shared, I really love that, one, in your gap year, in as much as you're trying to figure things out, you didn't just sit at home and become liability. You actually went to find a job, and that job may have been what the society would call below bottom, because you're very intelligent, because you're this girl and all of that. But also, one thing I'd always like to emphasize is that no job is mundane. Hey,
100%.
like for instance, people skills. I've also been in retail, and not because I was having issues, because I wanted money. And within that, right, I learned how to handle people. I learned different languages. There's certain things that certain jobs will teach you, whether you like it or not. You know, yes, it's nice to have an elite job from uni or from high school, but sometimes take those humble beginnings and operate from them and
100%.
honor them for what they are. Because imagine, look at how gorgeous you are. Like, I mean, you worked at the boutique. I'm sure you were like, yo, but now you dress so well. You learned, you were able to enhance your people skills, advance them, and all of that.
100%.
So it is not the end of the world.
Yeah.
So now you're finally in. UJ takes you in. What happens there? How was the experience? How's the
the
journey?
best time of my life, to
Okay.
be honest. And I'll say the best time of my life in that that's where I got to really hone in on what I was good at,
Okay.
right? I was good academically, that we already knew. But the other things like, you know, cultural activities, I was part of UJFM, I was a newsreader, I was part of UJ Observer, which is the newspaper, campus newspaper. I was a writer for that. And as part of my academics, I got exposed to an organization called Golden Key, which recognizes academic excellence. And through that, I was able to be part of the executive committee. And one of the things that we got to do as the executive committee was to travel overseas.
Oh, nice.
So I ended up in Boston, ended
that
up
your
in New
first time
York. That was my
traveling?
first time traveling internationally. And yeah, ended up in New York, ended up in Boston, got exposed to like a bigger world that really just shaped my perspective. And when I came back, then there was another program I was exposed to where I got to do an exchange program at Rhodes University during holidays, because we know that, I don't know if we all know, but Rhodes University is known to produce like great quality journalists, and their School of Journalism is internationally acclaimed. So I got to be part of an exchange program where every holiday I would, go there for a full year, and we would get some training in terms of how we can just, diversify our skill sets as journalists, as communicators, as writers, etc. So that experience in university for me just exposed me to the potential of what is possible. And it also just reaffirmed that when you do play to your strengths, when you do play to what you're good at, that's how opportunities find you, and that's how you find opportunities. Because, my skill set came in handy in my academics, where I was doing really well, and that then introduced me to a platform like Golden Key, and that introduced me to other opportunities like traveling internationally, making peers from other universities, etc. And so I was really able to hone in on my leadership skills. I was able to broaden my perspective. I was able to just recognize that the world truly is my oyster if I put in the time, the effort, and the focus and strategy towards getting the things that I want to. So it was a very enlightening experience, and yeah, like I said, life-changing and the best time of my life, to be honest.
I love that.
Yeah.
Mara, when it's all said and done, UJ has to be the best institution.
Of course.
Come for me if you want.
Of course.
But I really think it is a place where great opportunities are created for their students, and it's very inclusive in so many
100%.
ways. I really love that. And then as you explained your journey and all of that, I know that you are very proactive. You involved in different things. And I think it is important for us to emphasize to students at home, people that are looking to expand in their career, whatever the case may be, it is important to be proactive.
100%.
It is important to put your foot forward. It is important to be involved in different things. And I think one of the highlights that I'm getting also, identify what you're great at and maximize on it.
That's it. That's it.
You'll attract opportunity because
100%.
you would have maximized what you're good at, because I think it's one thing starting from nothing, like saying I'm going to go learn medicine and I've never had anything of medicine, but it's another saying I'm going to journalism, I write well, I speak well, then it's like you are in a better position to succeed because already you are honing your own talents 100%. And abilities. So I really love that. And I love that you didn't let your gap year sway you or make you lose focus, because some people do rust, because when you stay home, you end up being distracted, you end up opting for other things. But I love that you actually opted to go home. So if you're sitting at home and you're on your gap year, just know it must end at the end of the year. Don't stay too
There must
long.
be a limit. There must be a limit. Yeah.
And while in it, don't allow yourself to be caught up in distractions.
That's
right?
it.
And then now you've graduated and you've done everything. Then did you get a job easily? How did you go into the workplace market?
Sure. So I did my postgrad immediately after my third year. Did my postgrad in honors, and I majored in journalism and communications. Then throughout that year, that was a period of like internships. It was a period of putting myself out there even more than I was. And already I was dabbling in the workplace because I was consulting on the side.
Okay.
Yeah. So I've always been a person who does things on the side.
You're hustling.
I'm hustling, exactly. So I was consulting on the side. Didn't even know what a marketing consultant was at the time. But I was like, I can learn on the job.
Yes,
and I can get the job done, So already I was building up my skills while I was completing my studies. And I think the reason why I'm emphasizing this is that if you are in your third year or honors year, look for other ways that you can ready yourself for the job market. Because you can't just only only rely on the degree to get you in the job.
Sure.
You need other things that will contribute to your growth, your other things that will contribute to you being selected and recognized when you are applying. So I was doing that to put myself in a better position, and also in all the other things that I had been doing throughout my undergrad came in handy as well, right? So I'm emphasizing that just to, for anybody who is university right now, to think about other ways where they can be involved in like societies and extramural activities, even on a voluntary basis, and recognize that there are skills that are important that you get from doing that ready yourself for the workplace. So in my honors year, then I just started applying for a number of jobs. I applied, for a number of jobs, but only got called for interviews for 3. So I'm not going to name the companies, but I got called for interviews for 3, and I didn't get the 2, and it was a shattering experience because I had my heart and hopes
you were convinced
on one.
that
Yes, especially the one where I had an opportunity to go interview in Durban. I thought I would be relocating, and I was just excited about this prospect, and also again being introduced to a new level and a new way of being called for an interview. They set you up in a nice hotel, and it's for a multinational, and I would have been like in their marketing, PR, communication space because of my background. But the thing that I didn't do then was that I did not prepare for that interview as well as I should have. Again, relying on my own personal abilities. No research was done, right? So for me, my journey has been about learning on the go, to be honest. And it's
You're the precedent we need.
Yeah, exactly. So that I can warn you that, guys, this is what you need to do when you go prepare for a job interview. And so in hindsight, I mean, I realized that, I had made it to the final stage where I was part of, a group of graduates who had to present a case study, etc. And already the one thing that I noticed from the onset was a skills gap or a knowledge gap, right? So I was interviewing with people who had come from like a business background.